Hey guys, welcome back to Kriss Beauty. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Christina. Some of you call me Kriss, others Tina. Whatever you prefer, girl, that is fine with me. Yeah, I know it's been a minute. Obviously because my roots have grown in. The last time that I was filming was actually for my hair tutorial, but today we are actually going to be doing a Colourpop review. I'm going to be reviewing the It's All Good Colourpop eyeshadow palette. This is one of the most recent Colourpop palettes. I know they come up with a lot of palettes, but I'm going to be reviewing this bad boy today. And by the way, you guys, I am using a new camera, so if the lighting is a little bit off, please forgive me in advance. But anyways, if you are not already subscribed to Kriss Beauty, go ahead and do so. Make sure that you turn on your bell notification so that you do not miss out on any of my videos. And welcome to the first video of 2020. That sounds horrendous. It is the end of January, so I need to step up my game all the way up. I do have a few videos that are planned for the year, so I went ahead and I put myself on a schedule, girl, so you will be seeing way more of me. All right, so let's get started. Alright, so you guys, I have a bare face on. I was just gonna start off with the eyes and just go straight in, but because I haven't been here in so long and I've barely honestly done my makeup like in the last month, like it's just been a little rough, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know how you go full-fledged into the year and you think like, all right, you know what, I have all these goals, and which I still got, okay? Manifestation is real, honey. I have just been feeling like bleh, you know what I'm saying? Just putting that pressure on yourself is just no bueno. But I'm gonna go ahead and start off with moisturizing my face because Lord knows I need it. So I'm gonna take my Nivea. If you're new to my channel, you know, or you don't know, that Nivea is my jam. I have really bad eczema, so you know, I always start off with something super thick. I don't think I've done a full face on camera in a little while, so this is gonna be a good one. All right, so for me personally, I like to double, triple, quadruple moisturize. So what's been working for me lately is actually using some good old Vaseline, and I like to apply that in the places where I'm like extra dry or I need extra hydration. So I'm gonna take some Vaseline and I like to just set it under my eyes, around my nose area, and around my mouth. I always like extra hydration around the eyes, so when I do concealer, there's a little wiggle room for that. And then around the nose and the mouth, I notice that I'm cracking there once I do setting powder. So I like to keep that extra hydrated. Where's my primer? Here we go. It's been a month and it's nothing new. Alright, so along with my purchase, I went ahead and I got the Pretty Fresh Hydrating Hyaluronic Acid Primer and the setting spray. When I first used it, I honestly wasn't feeling it like at all. It kind of grew on me, and it's really good for hydration as well. So I'm gonna leave it just like this. I'm gonna let this sit and sort of, you know, work its way in. So I am gonna be starting off with the eyes today. Lately I've been starting off with, you know, the face, but because this is a Colourpop eyeshadow palette review, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start off with the eyes. All right, so I brought you guys on in. I am gonna start off with concealing my eyes, and my favorite concealer to use is the Wet n Wild phototfocus concealer, and this is in the shade Light Honey. Alright, you guys, so my eyes are nicely concealed. I'm gonna go ahead and just go straight into this palette. So I haven't officially used this palette. I have swatched the shades, and this is what it looks like on the inside. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the pen sizes are a teeny bit smaller than I thought it was gonna be. But yeah, we're gonna jump into some warm tones today. I actually don't know what I wanna do with my eyes, so we're gonna just, you know, we're just gonna play the guessing game and just, you know, go along with the flow. So I think I wanna do a cut crease, what's new. Okay, so I'm actually gonna do a little Soft Glam moment. Everybody's been like obsessed with Soft Glam. It's been trending all over Twitter. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a little Soft Glam moment. Nothing subtle though. So I am going to just dip into a few shades. Okay, so I'm actually going to start off with this shade right here. It is called All About It. It is a really nice sort of light, like wash of brown. And I'm taking a fluffy brush. There's a little bit of fallout already. And I'm gonna start by patting that right in the crease. Okay, so it's coming off a little bit more pink than I would like it to be, but I'm just gonna go ahead and finish this right in the crease. Alright, so I'm gonna let that eyeshadow just drag down because we're gonna do a little of a cleanup. But I am gonna move on to the next shade. I do want to deepen this up, so I'm gonna take the shade. Ooh, there's a lot of fallout here. I'm gonna take the shade You Got It. This is like a burnt sort of like brown shade, which is always my go-to shade for transitioning. Alright, so I am switching brushes. I'm gonna take the P20 from Wet n Wild, Nothing New. And I'm just going to continue to build that up. This is a nice fluffy brush, but it is a little precise, so I am going to just work that in the crease. So far, I'm actually loving the way these are blending. They are blending like butter, but what is new, because Colourpop's eyeshadow palettes blend so seamlessly every single time. And they are ridiculously cheap, so not cheap in like quality wise, but like cheap as in price. So this is impressive. Alright, so I'm switching over to a more precise brush, and I'm actually going to take the shade. I'm going to take the shade right here called Vibes. It is a dark, almost pretty like chocolate. It is a little bit neutral toned, which is perfect because I feel like this is getting a little bit too warm and I want to keep more like Soft Glam vibes. So I am going to take this and actually add it to the crease. Okay, so this shade is taking a little while to blend, like, not to blend, it's taking a little while to build up. But yeah, so I'm just building that up in the crease, and I'm lightly bringing it into the inner corner because when I cut the crease, I want that nice transition shade there. Alright you guys, so I am using that fluffy brush just to blend it out a little bit and make it a little bit more seamless. I'm loving the like gradient effect of like, you know, going from dark to, you know, my transition shade. And I am smoking that out and sort of buffing it all the way out because I am going to go ahead and clean it up anyways. And then I'm just going to reiterate that brownish neutral shade. Okay you guys, so I'm moving on to cutting the crease. I am going to go back into that Wet n Wild concealer, and I'm actually going to take this sort of precise small fluffy brush. Now I know the usual way to cut the crease is to use a concealer brush or something that's more size so you can like sort of slice and dice your crease, but I do want it to be a little bit of like a softer glam, so I don't want it to be too precisely cut. So I'm going to take that on the back of my hand and I'm going to begin to do a half, sort of 75% of the way cut crease. So I'm taking that brush with the concealer and I'm going to begin to work that in. So I'm just leaving that outer corner untouched. And again, it's not so precise, but it's not like crazy, like all over the place. Alright, so I'm going to go back and reiterate some of the shades at the very top because it kind of got lost with that concealer. And I actually am going to take a concealer brush just a little bit so I can make it just a little tiny cleaner. I know that just defeats what I just said, but I do want to make sure it's not as precise but not like crazy either, you know what I'm saying? So I'm taking my e.l.f. concealer brush. So I went ahead and I went in a little bit with the e.l.f. concealer brush just to clean it up a smidge, but as you can see, it is still not as precise. And I even took my Wet n Wild the P15 brush, and I just shaded it in a little more because I am going to put another shade on my lid. Okay, so I think I want to go into one of these gold shades, but I have my eye on this shade as well. Ooh, this is... Okay, hold on. I don't know if you can see that this is the shade Gold Stars. It is absolutely amazing. It is more of like a pressed glitter, and this is how it swatches. This is how it looks. It is absolutely stunning. And then the shade next to it, which is more of a shimmer shade, it's called Heart to Heart. This is a smidge darker, a little bit more on the bronzy side, but just as pigmented. And then Happy Go Lucky is that bronze. No, that's not a bronzy shade. That is more of like a silver. I don't know what shade this is, but it is blinding. This is what it looks like. So I'm having a hard time deciding. So I am going to use this shade Happy Go Lucky, which is that sort of that silvery sort of shade. And then I am going to mix it with this pressed glitter called Gold Star. Okay, so I am taking my e.l.f. brush again. I'm gonna start off with the silvery sort of shade, and I'm just going to put that on. This has no spray, and look at how crazy pigmented it is. Okay, it's honestly so pigmented. There's not a lot of fallout. Oh, this is applying flawlessly. Like, I'm really impressed. Like, I didn't spray this down with any setting spray. I just went in with the brush, and it looks and feels amazing. All right, you guys, that literally took like no time. Like, this is just like a really pigmented shade. I did use this e.l.f. concealer brush to keep it a little bit precise, a little bit messy. And so now I'm gonna take Gold Star on my finger. It is just one of those shades that you can just pick up so lightly and it comes off like crazy. So I do want to just press this right on top. This is more of like a pressed glitter, so I don't know how it's going to hold. It's not really holding as well with my finger, so I am gonna take the e.l.f. brush again. Okay, yeah, so this is kind of like one of those shades that's hard to grab on its own. So you would probably need a glitter glue, but it's not like horrible. It's just, you know, it's just one of those shades that needs a little bit of like finagling or finessing, as the young kids say. Again, I'm not keeping it like crazy precise. I just want it to be placed nicely on top of that other shade. Okay, you guys, so I finished applying that gold. What I want to do now is actually add some liner. The eyes are not done, but I do want to just add a little bit of liner to my lash line so things could look a little bit more together and like cohesive. Alright, you guys, so it took me about 1,000,001 years to add some pencil liner. I did use the LA Colors eyeliner in black. So I just did the lash line. I totally forgot that I have to actually close this in a little bit like I wanted to. So I'm going to go back into the palette. I'm taking that Precise brush from Wet n Wild again, and I'm going back into that neutral brown called Vibes that took forever to be built up. And I actually do want to close this in just a little bit to give it more of like that, you know, smoky vibe, but not like over the top. I mean, actually, you know what? I don't even mind that it's like a soft neutral. It is just taking a while to build up. But I do actually like the fact that it can be built and it's not like over the top, like boom bam pigmented like as soon as you touch it. So I actually do like that shade, so I take it back. Things are nice and closed. I blended that into that black shade. I am taking a makeup wipe and I'm actually going to precisely clean this part up. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and take an angled brush. I am going to go into a lighter shade to sort of buff out this crease shade. So I'm going to go into Thriving right here and also Carefree. And these are more of those like bone shades that aren't really going to necessarily show up. And I'm actually going back into Happy Go Lucky, which is the first shimmer shade we put down first. Alright you guys, so I think it's finally time to move on to the face. So earlier I did prime, I did prep the face, and so I am going to just go straight into foundation. I am going to be using my absolute favorite foundation, which is the Dewy and Smooth foundation from Maybelline. This is the FitMe Dewy and Smooth foundation, and I'm in the shade 220. And I know I'm not usually a brush girl, but I am actually going to be using this on the F15 Colourpop brush, which actually came with this order as well. Beginning by stippling in this foundation and using like stroking motions, which is honestly why it's important to have a good base down, so everything else on top of it goes on seamlessly. This is a Soft Glam moment, so I do want to have a little bit of medium coverage foundation. Alright, and then I'm actually going to take my e.l.f. sponge and I'm going to just set that in place a little bit more just by going over it with no additional product, especially around the nose. And this is just a foolproof way of making sure there's no streaks, that everything is seamlessly blended. And I'm starting with my first layer of concealer. I have been doing double and triple layers lately and letting it sit. This Wet n Wild concealer is medium coverage and it is buildable, so I like to let it sit because it is hydrating, and that's why it's especially important to hydrate your under eyes as well, so you can let product just sit. And I just let this sit under my eyes. I don't do my nose or my forehead or my chin just yet. I just let this sit by itself, and then I'm gonna come back and just buff everything out after this dries up. Alright you guys, so I let that first layer sit. I'm gonna buff this out with my sponge. And now I'm gonna take my Maybelline Age Rewind. I'm in the shade Light Pale. I'm just gonna lay that right on top of that. And I'm also gonna use that to shape the nose a little bit. And at this point, this is when I highlight wherever I wanna highlight. And now I'm going to go ahead and set with the Wet n Wild Translucent Setting Powder. And this is one of my favorite powders aside from Airspun. And I'm going to use the same damp sponge. Okay, and then as far as for the nose, I lightly touch it with some setting powder. Okay, so now that everything is completely set in place, I am going to now bronze up the face. Now this part could be a little bit tricky because you don't want to overdo it with the bronzing, since this is like a soft glam sort of moment. So I am going to try to lightly bronze, not lightly bronze, but beautifully bronze, if that makes sense. Okay, so I'm taking my favorite bronzer brush. This is the e.l.f. Flawless Face Brush. It is a little bit tapered, a little bit dense, a little fluffy, all in one. And believe it or not, I have been using the Morphe X Jeffree Star palette to bronze, contour, and blush and highlight. So I'm going to take Mr. Diva as like a bronzy sort of shade. Is like a nice warm chestnut shade, and I'm actually going to use that to bronze up the face today. And I have been mixing that in with Mr. Dude. Now this is a very dark chocolate shade, so I'm very light-handed with this shade, and I like to actually dust it off a little bit but this is for that extra contour. I even tap it on a little bit of translucent powder, and I literally lightly dust this in. Okay, so I got a little muddy up here. Alright, so things are a little bit, you know, complicated up there. But what I am going to do is I'm going to take those 2 shades for the draw. I'm starting off with the bronzing sort of shade, Mr. Diva. And I'm going to ever so slightly use this to chisel out this draw. Okay, so it's nice and chiseled. And then I am going to take Mr. Diva and literally a smidge of Hi Dude. I'm just continuing to buff this in. Okay, now I'm going back into that angled brush that we used before. I'm taking the same shades and I'm going to contour the nose. And the way I like to contour my nose is just by putting my head down and following the shades of my nose. And it might come out a little bit harsh at first, but it's fine. And at this point, I'm just going to take some of my setting powder, place it right along my nose contour. I don't like to do this too much and for too long because I personally have dry skin, and so this can be too much for my skin. I don't like baking. Bridge of the nose. As for blush, I am going to use the shade Honest Truth from the Jeffree Star palette. Beautiful peach shade right here. I'm using that on a sort of dome-like fluffy brush. Alright you guys, so things are setting. I'm gonna go ahead and do my brows and lashes off of camera. I'm gonna come back to do the under lash and also highlight and complete the look. So I'll be right back. Alright you guys, I went ahead and I did my brows and my lashes off of camera. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to do my lower lash line. I want to keep the under eyes cohesive with the eye look. So I am going to go back into the same shades that I used earlier, which is You Got It, that soft brown shade, and also Vibes to tightline the waterline. So I'm now taking some mascara. I'm taking the Wet n Wild Max Volume Mascara. So I also added some mascara on the lower lash line, and now at this point I think I'm ready to highlight, my favorite part of the entire process. Oh, by the way, after I did my brows and my lashes, I went ahead and I sprayed my face with a pretty fresh hyaluronic acid setting mist just to help with the powderiness of the face. But I am going to be taking my Real Techniques highlighting brush, and I'm actually going to use one of the shades as a highlighting shade, and I think I'm going to dip into this shade, which I'm kind of obsessed with, which is again called Happy Go Lucky. Now it does have that silver purple shift to it, so I'm hoping that it'll come off really nice on the skin. Oh, alrighty, okay, it is definitely, I mean, it is beyond blinding. I literally barely touched it. Oh, I'm gonna have to go over this with some setting spray because, honey, wow, this is really intense. Okay, and it's just so buttery. It's not like flaky. Ooh. This sort of gives a wet look to the face. Alright, so now that we are totally and 100% blinding, I do want to be a little bit more delusional, and I am going to take Heart to Heart, which is that gold, and literally barely touch it because I do want a little bit of that gold shift on my highlight. Yeah, I don't know if you can really tell on camera though. Just right on top. Let me spray down the face one more time with this hyaluronic acid setting mist from Colourpop. taking my sponge, and this is going to tone it down. Alright, and now for the final step, I'm going to add a lip. Now, I feel like when you think about Soft Glam, you think about a brown nude lip. So that's exactly what I'm going to go for today, which is honestly not different from what I usually do. I'm obsessed with a brown nudie lip. So I'm going to take one of my favorite brownish shades. This is the shade Bahama Beige from Milani. It is a really beautiful warm brown shade. I don't know if you can see that. It is just stunning. So I am going to use that, but what I'm going to do first is actually place some concealer to completely cover my lips and tone down the pinkish. I'm just going to go ahead in with a nice dark chocolate shade just to line my lips. And now I'm going in with this Milani shade. I kind of want to do little dabs of color. And this is a cream lipstick, so it's not going to dry down, which is perfect because I'm probably going to add some gloss. Okay, and this is how the nude lip, This is how the nude lip is looking. So I am going to go ahead and add some gloss on top of it because it's just a really bad habit of mine. I'm going to go ahead and add the Model Co lip oil. This is just like, it's a pink too, but it's more of just like a regular little gloss. And I'm going to go ahead and just add this for the va-va-voom effect. Alrighty, and this is the final look. How do you guys like it? This is my spin on Soft Glam. It's not the softest, but you know, we got there. Overall, this palette I feel was honestly amazing. It blended like a dream. So I know I really touched on like 4 shades, so I do want to take this time to swatch a couple of the shades for you guys, and just so you can see how it performs. But the shades that I did use was All About It, You Got It, Happy Go Lucky, Heart to Heart, Gold Star, Thriving, and Carefree. I believe those were the shades that I used only. So what I am going to do is I'm going to swatch a few shades for you guys that I didn't use today. So the obvious shade that everybody's like probably obsessed with, which I know I was obsessed with, was this shade Michelada, girl, I don't know. But it is it's a pressed glitter. It is the most beaming shade in this palette. It has some sparks of purple and gold and probably some silver in it. Again, it's one of those shades that you'll probably need glitter glue with it. So I do just want to swatch this on the back of my hand. This is what it looks like. It is a really beautiful, stunning shade. It has a nice peach shift undertone to it. It is just amazing. And then I'm going to swatch 10 out of 10, which is a beautiful peach shade, but it does have that gold undertone. Super, super creamy. And this is how it looks like. Again, that peach golden undertone that I would 100% use. I'm gonna touch this shade Margarita. It is a nice magenta with a couple of glitter specks in it, and this is what it looks like. And then Lucky Break is that really pretty brown shimmer shade. Again, super pigmented, super, super, super buttery. And then I'll go into one more shade called Downtime. It is a purple blue shift shimmer shade. It is more of the less pigmented shades in the palette. And this is what it looks like. It's this shade right here. It's a little bit toned down, a little bit cool, but again, I really do enjoy these shades in this palette. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue to play with this palette, continue testing it out on the eyes. But as of right now, as of today, based on the swatches, the performance on the eyes, I would give it a 9.5 out of 10, only because that 0.5 was that shade that I had to keep building up. But it is a palette that I'm going to use continuously. Being honest, I wasn't really thinking about purchasing the palette until someone asked me to review it, and I'm so happy that they did because this palette is a dream. I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial, today's look. If you did, go ahead and comment that down below, give me a thumbs up, and make sure that you go ahead and drop what you want me to review next. I have a bunch of videos coming this year. Don't worry, I am manifesting greatness all year, and I hope you guys are too, because whatever you speak aloud comes to life. Whatever you work for, work really hard for, will definitely pay off in the end. I hope you guys have an amazing night or day, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye guys.